The Pokémon world often presents itself as colorful and familiar, yet beyond the roots and cities lies a quieter layer few ever pause to consider. In forgotten corners of the regions, traces of older stories remain, not explained outright, but hinted at through ruins, artifacts, and records that feel incomplete by design. Stone structures buried beneath modern settlements show craftsmanship that doesn't align with any known era, their scale and precision raising questions that have never been answered. Some of these places feel unmistakably human in their design, while others suggest they were shaped with something far larger in mind. Alongside them, scattered Pokédex entries describe discoveries with careful wording, as if even the researchers documenting them hesitated to draw firm conclusions. Together, these fragments imply a past where humans and Pokémon may have lived in ways far more complex than anything remembered today. And before you drift off, make sure to subscribe to never miss a video and tell me where you're watching from tonight. We begin by uncovering one of the quietest mysteries hidden within the games themselves. The earliest civilizations within the Pokémon world left behind structures that scholars struggle to understand even today. Ruins scattered across multiple regions contain architecture far more advanced than what should have existed during those eras. Stone blocks fit together without mortar, carved with precision that modern tools barely replicate, suggesting construction methods lost to time. Some ruins appear designed for human habitation, with doorways, staircases, and chambers proportioned for people of average height. Others contain passageways wide enough for creatures many times larger than any Pokémon documented in recent centuries. These inconsistencies raise uncomfortable questions about who built these places and what kind of world they inhabited. Researchers examining these ancient sites often find carvings depicting Pokémon species that bear resemblance to modern forms, but with subtle differences. Wings positioned differently, body shapes slightly altered, features that suggest evolutionary branches no longer present in the living world. Some tablets show humans and Pokémon working side by side, not as trainer and partner, but as equals engaged in shared tasks. Other images depict rituals involving stone circles, celestial alignments, and offerings made to forces represented by abstract symbols rather than recognizable Pokémon. The exact meaning of these depictions remains elusive, interpreted differently by every archaeologist who studies them. Certain ruins contain chambers sealed for millennia, discovered only when landslides or erosion expose hidden entrances. Inside these sealed rooms, murals remain vivid despite centuries without light, colors preserved through methods modern science cannot replicate. The scenes painted on these walls often portray events no written record mentions. Great floods, skies filled with unfamiliar constellations, landscapes where mountains stand in places they no longer exist. These murals feel less like historical documentation and more like attempts to preserve memories of a world fundamentally different from the present. What caused such dramatic changes remains unknown, leaving only fading images as evidence that something profound once occurred. As we drift a little deeper into this topic, the mystery of fossil Pokémon emerges as another layer of uncertainty. Reviving ancient species through fossil restoration allows modern trainers to encounter creatures from eras long past. However, the process involves genetic reconstruction, filling gaps in incomplete DNA with approximations based on related modern species. This means every revived fossil Pokémon may differ from its original form in ways researchers cannot measure. Skeletal structures provide outlines, but soft tissues, coloration, behaviors, and ecological roles remain speculative. Scientists debate whether revived fossils truly represent ancient Pokémon or if they are new creatures built from fragments of the past. The differences become more troubling when comparing fossils from different regions. Some species appear in multiple locations, with variations subtle enough to suggest regional adaptations, yet drastic enough to question whether they truly belong to the same lineage. Researchers wonder if these variations emerged naturally over time, or if fossil restoration introduces unintentional changes based on which modern DNA serves as the template. The possibility that revived Pokémon are imperfect reconstructions rather than faithful resurrections troubles paleontologists who dedicate their lives to understanding extinct species. If the creatures walking among us are approximations, then the true forms of ancient Pokémon remain forever lost. This uncertainty extends to the ecosystems these ancient creatures inhabited. Fossil records show species that thrived in environments no longer present on modern continents. Tropical Pokémon buried in regions now covered by tundra, aquatic species fossilized in deserts far from any current water source. These discoveries suggest the world underwent climate shifts and geological changes far more dramatic than gradual continental drift. Some researchers propose catastrophic events, asteroid impacts, volcanic eruptions, or floods that reshaped entire continents within generations. Others believe the changes occurred slowly, giving ancient Pokémon time to adapt or migrate before their habitats vanished entirely. What remains most unsettling is the number of fossil species with no modern descendants. Entire evolutionary branches that simply end, leaving no trace in the current ecosystem. These extinct lines suggest pressures or events severe enough to eliminate species entirely, removing them from existence without allowing adaptation. Whether these extinctions resulted from environmental collapse, competition with other species, or something more mysterious continues to divide scientific opinion. Every fossil unearthed adds complexity rather than clarity, revealing just how much of ancient history remains hidden beneath the surface. Another quiet detail appears when we look closer at the oceans. The seas covering much of the Pokémon world remain largely unexplored, with depths reaching levels where light cannot penetrate and pressure becomes unbearable for most life forms. Yet reports from sailors, divers, and coastal residents describe encounters with massive shapes moving through deep water, creatures too large and too silent to match any documented species. These sightings lack photographic evidence, relying instead on witness testimony that varies wildly in detail. Some describe serpentine forms undulating through dark currents. Others mention colossal shadows passing beneath boats, visible only as disruptions in moonlight reflected on the surface. Certain regions of open ocean exhibit strange phenomena that hint at undiscovered species or behaviors. Fishermen working far from shore occasionally pull up nets containing scales unlike anything cataloged, each one the size of a dinner plate and covered in bioluminescent patterns that fade quickly after exposure to air. Other crews report sudden temperature drops in specific zones, as if enormous creatures passed beneath them, displacing warm surface water with frigid currents from far below. These zones shift location unpredictably, making systematic study nearly impossible. Researchers attempting to investigate these areas often return with malfunctioning equipment, as if something in the water interferes with electronic instruments. Deep-sea trenches present their own mysteries. Expeditions using remotely operated vehicles have captured footage of bioluminescent displays in patterns too organized to be random. Sequences of light pulses that repeat at regular intervals, creating rhythms resembling communication or territorial markers. Some patterns mirror constellations visible from the surface, suggesting either coincidence or an awareness of celestial movements by creatures dwelling thousands of feet below the waves. Pokémon known to inhabit these depths rarely interact with humans, making direct study almost impossible. The few specimens brought to the surface often expire quickly, their biology too specialized for shallow water or captivity. Underwater caves add further complexity to oceanic mysteries. Cavern systems stretch beneath continents, connecting distant shorelines through tunnels carved by ancient currents or geological shifts. Some caves contain pockets of air, isolated ecosystems, or Pokémon adapted to perpetual darkness thrive without surface contact. Explorers venturing into these caves report finding species with traits suggesting they evolved separately from their surface relatives for countless generations. Coloration bleached to near transparency, eyes reduced to vestigial organs, and sensory adaptations allowing navigation through pitch-black water. These discoveries hint at entire hidden worlds existing parallel to the surface ecosystem, sustained by geothermal vents and chemosynthetic organisms rather than sunlight. If you're still awake halfway through, maybe subscribe before you drift off, and tell me what time it is where you're watching from. Certain ocean currents behave in ways that defy meteorological models. Whirlpools appear without warning in calm seas, spinning for hours, before dissipating as suddenly as they formed. Temperature gradients shift overnight, creating warm pockets in freezing waters or icy channels through tropical zones. These anomalies occur too consistently to be random, yet no natural explanation accounts for their predictability. Some scientists theorize undiscovered volcanic activity or subterranean rivers feeding into the ocean, while others suggest the presence of massive Pokémon whose movements generate localized environmental changes. Until comprehensive deep-sea surveys become feasible, these theories remain speculation. Migration patterns of certain aquatic Pokémon add another layer to oceanic enigmas. Species documented in specific regions suddenly appear thousands of miles away without crossing observable water routes. Traditional migration theories fail to explain these appearances, as the distances involved exceed what most Pokémon could reasonably travel given their known swimming speeds and metabolic needs. Researchers propose undocumented underwater currents or tunnels allowing rapid transit across vast distances, but mapping such features remains beyond current capabilities. The alternative explanation that these Pokémon possess navigational abilities, allowing shortcuts through spatial anomalies, sounds fantastical, yet cannot be entirely dismissed given other unexplained phenomena within the Pokémon world. Coastal communities preserve legends describing ancient pacts between humans and sea Pokémon, agreements establishing boundaries and mutual respect. These stories claim certain areas remain off-limits to human vessels, protected zones where undiscovered species dwell beyond the reach of modern civilization. Fishermen who honor these boundaries report abundant catches and safe voyages, while those who venture into forbidden waters encounter mechanical failures, sudden storms, or encounters with aggressive Pokémon defending their territory. Whether these legends reflect genuine ecological boundaries or serve as cautionary tales to prevent overfishing, their persistence across generations suggests they serve important cultural functions regardless of their literal truth. As we drift a little deeper into this topic, the phenomenon of Pokémon appearing in unexpected habitats demands attention. Species are documented exclusively in one region, sometimes surface in entirely different ecosystems without clear migration routes. A fire-type Pokémon native to volcanic regions might suddenly appear in a temperate forest thousands of miles from the nearest volcano. Aquatic species show up in landlocked lakes with no rivers connecting them to the ocean. These occurrences happen too frequently to dismiss as escaped pets or trainer releases, suggesting natural mechanisms allowing cross-regional movement through pathways humans cannot perceive. Some researchers theorize ancient underground networks connect distant regions, tunnels formed by geological processes or carved by massive Pokémon over millennia. These passages might remain hidden beneath forests, deserts, or mountain ranges, accessible only to Pokémon small enough to navigate narrow openings or capable of excavating temporary routes. Evidence supporting this theory includes sudden population booms of specific species in isolated areas following seismic activity, as if earthquakes temporarily opened sealed passages. However, systematic exploration of cave systems has yet to reveal connections extensive enough to explain the full scope of unexpected appearances. Alternative theories suggest environmental corridors that existed during different climatic periods. During ice ages or warmer epochs, land bridges and altered ocean levels might have created migration routes no longer present today. Pokémon that traveled these ancient paths could have established populations in distant regions before geographic changes isolated them. Their descendants might carry genetic memories or instinctual knowledge of these vanished routes, occasionally attempting to retrace them through sheer evolutionary programming. This would explain why certain species appear along specific trajectories that align with reconstructed ancient coastlines or land bridges, even when modern geography makes such journeys impossible. Temporal anomalies present another unsettling possibility. Reports exist of Pokémon appearing fully grown in areas where juveniles should emerge first, as if adult specimens materialized from elsewhere rather than hatching or evolving locally. Some witnesses describe seeing the Pokémon vanish mid-movement, present one moment and gone the next without retreating or using known teleportation abilities. These accounts often get dismissed as observation errors or tricks of light, yet their consistency across multiple regions suggests patterns worth investigating. If certain Pokémon possess abilities allowing them to skip across space or time in ways not yet understood, it would explain many otherwise inexplicable appearances. Time itself becomes uncertain when examining specific Pokémon behaviors. Certain species exhibit patterns suggesting they perceive temporal flow differently than humans. Wild Pokémon appearing at identical locations at the exact same moment year after year, with precision that implies awareness of time beyond simple seasonal instinct. Other species react to celestial events, eclipses, meteor showers, planetary alignments, by gathering in specific clearings or near ancient ruins. These gatherings form silent circles that dissolve immediately when the astronomical event concludes, leaving no trace except trampled grass and lingering energy that sensitive instruments detect but cannot classify. Researchers observing these gatherings note that participating Pokémon seem entranced, moving with coordinated precision that suggests shared awareness rather than individual decision-making. Some species vocalize during these events, creating harmonics that resonate with frequencies found in ancient stone structures. Whether these gatherings represent forgotten rituals passed through generations or spontaneous responses to environmental stimuli remains unknown. Attempts to document the events often fail, as recording equipment malfunctions or captures only static when played back. The few clear recordings reveal sounds that do not match any known Pokémon vocalizations, instead resembling tones produced by wind moving through specific architectural designs. Certain locations amplify these temporal oddities. Ruins aligned with solstices or equinoxes exhibit unusual properties during those specific days. Shadows cast by standing stones at dawn or dusk create patterns that match carvings on nearby tablets, as if the structures were designed to function as celestial calendars. Pokemon presented during these alignments behave differently, becoming unusually calm or energized depending on their type and the specific alignment occurring. Fire types gather during summer solstice, ice types during winter, with each species seemingly drawn to moments when their elemental affinity reaches peak resonance with natural forces. These behaviors suggest Pokemon maintain connections to cycles operating on scales beyond human perception. Annual patterns embedded in evolutionary memory, responses to forces that shaped their ancestors over countless generations. Modern trainers focusing on competitive battles and gym challenges rarely notice these subtle behaviors, but wild Pokemon living undisturbed by human activity demonstrate awareness of rhythms that predate civilization. Their actions hint at a deeper order underlying the apparent chaos of nature, patterns that become visible only when observed with patience and respect for timescales measured in centuries rather than seasons. Another quiet detail appears when we look closer at urban mysteries. Towns and cities built atop older settlements occasionally uncover structures during construction or renovation that do not match surrounding architecture. Foundations made from stone types not found locally, carved with symbols that predate any written language known to historians. These discoveries halt construction while archaeologists examine the findings, often revealing layers of habitation extending back far further than official histories acknowledge. Each layer tells a story of civilizations rising, falling, and being built over by successors who may never have known their predecessors existed. Some buildings within modern cities exhibit properties that puzzle engineers, towers remaining perfectly stable despite lacking internal support structures visible in blueprints. Basements extending deeper than foundation permits allow, containing rooms with no clear purpose beyond storage, yet showing signs of regular use in distant past. Walls that remain cool in summer and warm in winter without insulation or climate control, suggesting construction materials or techniques no longer understood. These anomalies usually get attributed to undocumented renovations or lost records, but their frequency and consistency hint at knowledge that once existed but has since faded from collective memory. Public spaces sometimes become focal points for unexplained gatherings. Certain parks or plazas see wild Pokemon congregating at specific times, despite urban environments offering little habitat or food sources. These gatherings happen without apparent cause, with Pokemon arriving from various directions, spending several hours in silent presence, then dispersing before dawn. Local residents grow accustomed to these visitations, some leaving water or food, others simply observing from respectful distances. Researchers attempting to study the phenomenon find their presence disrupts the gatherings, as if Pokemon detect observation and choose not to participate when monitored. Underground tunnel systems beneath older cities present their own enigmas. Maintenance workers occasionally encounter passages not appearing on official maps, tunnels sealed decades ago that somehow remain accessible. Some passages contain murals depicting events from city histories never recorded in official documents, while others hold remnants of infrastructure suggesting purposes that remain unclear. Electrical conduits that lead nowhere, water channels with no source or destination, chambers lined with reflective materials that amplify sound in ways that create disorienting echoes. These forgotten spaces exist in liminal states, acknowledged by those who encounter them, but rarely investigated thoroughly due to safety concerns or bureaucratic indifference. Certain neighborhoods develop reputations for strange occurrences that never quite escalate into problems requiring official attention. Streets where electronic devices malfunction consistently, buildings where Pokemon refuse to enter, courtyards where plants grow in patterns that shift slightly overnight. Residents learn to adapt, developing unofficial guidelines for navigating these quirks. Avoid this alley after dark, not because of danger, but because time seems to stretch there, making 5-minute walks take 15. Don't store food in that basement, despite its coolness, because the items spoil within hours regardless of preservation methods. These accumulated wisdoms form unwritten rules passed between neighbors, knowledge that feels important even when rational explanations remain elusive. As we drift a little deeper into this topic, the presence of ghost-type Pokémon reveals its own mysteries. These species exist in states that blur boundaries between physical and spiritual, between living and something else. Their biology defies conventional understanding, bodies composed of substances that shift between tangible and intangible, depending on circumstance. Some ghost types appear as manifestations of specific emotions or memories, while others seem to exist independent of such origins. Researchers study them carefully, aware that their presence suggests dimensions or planes of existence parallel to the physical world. Locations with strong ghost-type populations often carry histories of tragedy or intense emotion. Abandoned buildings, old battlefields, cemeteries where grief lingers in the atmosphere, like morning fog. Ghost types gather in these places, drawn by energies humans barely perceive. Some theories suggest they feed on residual emotions, while others propose they serve as caretakers or guardians of memories too precious or painful to let fade entirely. Trainers who bond with ghost types often report sensing emotions or images not their own, fleeting impressions that vanish before fully forming, as if their Pokémon partners share glimpses of perspectives beyond normal perception. Certain ghost types exhibit behaviors suggesting awareness of events not yet occurred, moving toward locations moments before accidents happen, gathering at sites days before discoveries are made, reacting to presences invisible to other Pokémon and humans alike. These precognitive tendencies have led some trainers to rely on ghost types as early warning systems, trusting their partners to sense dangers before they manifest. Whether this represents genuine foresight or exceptional sensitivity to subtle environmental cues remains debated, though the accuracy of these warnings often exceeds chance probability by significant margins. The relationship between ghost types and other Pokémon types reveals additional complexity. Most species show caution or discomfort around ghost types, maintaining distance even when no hostility exists. Normal types cannot physically interact with ghost types in battle, their attacks passing through spectral forms without effect. This immunity suggests ghost types exist partially outside normal physical laws, occupying space that intersects with but does not fully belong to the material world. How they evolved to inhabit this intermediate state, and what evolutionary pressures would favor such existence, puzzles biologists who struggle to apply conventional frameworks to being so fundamentally unusual. Stories passed through generations speak of ghost types guiding lost travelers to safety or warning communities of approaching disasters. These legends persist across cultures and regions, suggesting patterns rather than isolated incidents. Some accounts describe ghost types leading searchers to missing persons, appearing briefly to point directions before vanishing. Others tell of spectral Pokémon blocking paths hours before landslides or floods make those routes impassable. Whether these stories reflect genuine interventions or represent humans projecting meaning onto coincidental encounters, their prevalence indicates ghost types hold special significance in collective consciousness, symbols of boundaries between known and unknown, life and whatever lies beyond. Another quiet detail appears when we look closer at psychic-type Pokémon and their relationship with consciousness. These species possess abilities that challenge fundamental assumptions about minds, memory, and identity. Telepathy, telekinesis, precognition, and emotional manipulation represent only the most obvious powers, with deeper abilities hinted at but rarely demonstrated. Some psychic types can share thoughts between multiple beings simultaneously, creating temporary networks where individuals experience collective awareness. Others manipulate memories, not erasing them, but altering emotional context or clarity, making traumatic experiences feel distant or neutral. The extent of these abilities raises ethical questions trainers and researchers grapple with constantly. If a psychic type can read thoughts, does it respect privacy, or does it continuously perceive the inner worlds of everyone nearby? Can they distinguish between thoughts humans wish to keep private and those they would share willingly? Do psychic types experience the world through layers of overlapping consciousness, perceiving not just their own thoughts, but echoes of everyone around them? Trainers bonded with powerful psychic types sometimes report feeling observed from within, not threateningly but thoroughly, as if their Pokémon understands them better than they understand themselves. Certain psychic types demonstrate abilities suggesting they perceive dimensions beyond the three spatial dimensions humans navigate, describing locations that cannot exist in normal geometry, seeing paths through space that allow instantaneous travel between distant points. Some trainers report their psychic partners anticipating conversations before words are spoken or responding to decisions before they are consciously made. Whether this represents reading surface thoughts or something more profound, genuine perception of future outcomes or probability fields that collapse into specific events, remains beyond current scientific explanation. Research facilities studying psychic types implement strict protocols to prevent unwanted mental contact. Shielded rooms lined with materials that dampen psychic energy, allowing researchers to work without constant awareness of being mentally observed. Yet even these precautions prove imperfect, with psychic types occasionally demonstrating awareness of thoughts or events occurring beyond shielded walls. Some researchers theorize consciousness itself may operate on principles that transcend physical barriers, existing as fields or waves that propagate through dimensions technology cannot yet shield. If true, this would mean genuine privacy from powerful psychic types might be impossible, their perception extending through any barrier designed to block it. The connection between psychic abilities and emotional states reveals another layer of complexity. Psychic types often demonstrate heightened emotional sensitivity, responding to feelings in others before those emotions become consciously recognized. A trainer experiencing suppressed anxiety might find their psychic partner becoming agitated or protective, despite showing no outward signs of distress. This sensitivity suggests psychic types perceive emotions as tangible forces, wavelengths, or fields that emanate from conscious beings. Whether they experience emotions this way naturally or learned through evolution to interpret these signals remains unclear, but their responses indicate emotions possess reality beyond subjective experience. Dreams present another frontier for psychic type investigation. Some species demonstrate ability to enter dreams, either observing or influencing the content experienced by sleeping beings. Trainers awakening from vivid dreams sometimes find their psychic partners awake and attentive, as if they shared the dream or stood guard while their trainer wandered unconscious landscapes. In rare cases, multiple individuals report experiencing the same dream when sleeping near powerful psychic types, suggesting these Pokémon can create shared dream spaces or broadcast specific imagery into sleeping minds. The purpose of such abilities, whether defensive, communicative, or simply playful, varies by species and individual temperament. As we drift a little deeper into this topic, the mystery of legendary Pokémon emerges as perhaps the most profound enigma within the Pokémon world. These beings exist at the intersection of myth and reality, creatures whose existence is documented, yet whose nature remains fundamentally mysterious. Ancient texts describe legendary Pokémon as forces that shaped the world, beings responsible for creating continents, oceans, weather patterns, and even time itself. Whether these accounts represent literal history or metaphorical explanations for natural processes continues to divide scholarly opinion. Encounters with legendary Pokémon occur rarely enough that each sighting becomes documented as a significant event. Unlike ordinary Pokémon appearing frequently across their habitats, legendary species surface only under specific circumstances, often during regional crises or moments of profound change. Some researchers theorize legendary Pokémon maintain existence outside normal space-time, manifesting physically only when needed or summoned by forces beyond human control. This would explain their scarcity and the dramatic nature of their appearances, usually accompanied by weather anomalies, seismic activity, or other environmental disruptions. The relationship between legendary Pokémon and ancient civilizations presents compelling mysteries. Ruins across multiple regions contain detailed depictions of legendary species, carved with precision, suggesting direct observation rather than artistic interpretation. Some murals show legendary Pokémon interacting with humans in ways that imply cooperation or conflict, suggesting these beings played active roles in shaping early societies. Other images portray legendary Pokémon in poses of reverence or worship, implying ancient peoples viewed them as deities or spiritual forces rather than simply powerful creatures. Archaeological evidence hints that some civilizations built temples or shrines specifically to honor certain legendary Pokémon. These structures align with geographic features associated with particular species: volcanoes for fire-type legendaries, ocean depths for aquatic ones, mountain peaks for those associated with sky or weather. Offerings found within these sites suggest rituals designed to appease or summon legendary Pokémon, though whether such rituals ever succeeded remains unknown. The sudden decline of civilizations that worshipped legendary Pokémon raises questions about whether their devotion brought disaster or if their collapse occurred independently of religious practices. Modern encounters with legendary Pokémon often involve trainers who possess specific qualities: courage, purity of heart, strong bonds with their Pokémon partners. These encounters rarely result in capture, with legendary Pokémon choosing whether to accompany trainers based on criteria that seem to assess character rather than skill. Some legendary Pokémon test trainers through trials or challenges before revealing themselves fully, while others appear briefly during moments of crisis, then vanish once their intervention is no longer needed. These selective appearances suggest legendary Pokémon maintain agency and purpose beyond simply existing as powerful beings to be captured. The abilities demonstrated by legendary Pokémon often exceed anything documented in ordinary species. Creating or dispersing storms, manipulating tectonic plates, reversing time, opening portals between dimensions. These feats operate on scales that blur the line between creature and force of nature. Whether legendary Pokémon consciously control these abilities, or if they exist as living embodiments of natural principles, remains debated. Some researchers argue legendary Pokémon are not individuals, but avatars, physical manifestations of concepts like time, space, or emotion given form and limited autonomy. Relationships between different legendary Pokémon add further complexity. Ancient texts describe conflicts between legendary species, battles that reshaped continents and altered weather patterns permanently. Other accounts mention alliances or partnerships between certain legendaries, suggesting social structures or hierarchies exist among them. Whether these relationships remain active or if legendary Pokémon operate independently in the modern era is unknown, though patterns in their appearances hint at coordinated behavior. When one legendary surfaces, others associated with opposing or complementary forces often appear shortly after, maintaining balance or responding to shifts in natural order. Another quiet detail appears when we look closer at artificial Pokémon and the mysteries surrounding their creation. Unlike species that evolved naturally over millions of years, artificial Pokémon were engineered by humans using technology, genetic manipulation, or both. The most famous example represents decades of research attempting to recreate an ancient legendary Pokémon from fossil samples. The resulting creation possessed immense power, but also instability, consciousness struggling against the circumstances of its existence. This raises profound questions about the ethics and consequences of creating life through artificial means. Other artificial Pokémon demonstrate different origins. Some were developed as experiments in evolutionary engineering, attempts to force specific traits or abilities into beings that would never occur through natural selection. Others emerged from technology gaining consciousness, digital entities transitioning from programs into independent beings inhabiting both virtual and physical spaces. Each category of artificial Pokémon challenges assumptions about what defines life, consciousness, and natural order. Their existence proves creation of new Pokémon species remains possible, yet the difficulties and ethical dilemmas involved discourage widespread attempts. The relationship between artificial Pokémon and naturally evolved species reveals tensions and uncertainties. Some artificial Pokémon integrate smoothly into ecosystems, filling niches or establishing populations that persist through reproduction. Others remain solitary, unable or unwilling to reproduce, existing as singular entities without successors. Certain artificial species demonstrate powers that seem excessive or unbalanced compared to natural Pokémon, as if their creators optimized for specific traits without considering broader ecological implications. These imbalances occasionally create problems, with artificial Pokémon unintentionally disrupting environments they enter or struggling to control abilities their engineered biology grants them. Artificial Pokémon often exhibit complicated relationships with their creators or humanity in general. Some seek purpose or belonging, hoping to prove their worth despite artificial origins. Others harbor resentment toward humans for creating them without consent or subjecting them to existence they never requested. These emotional complexities mirror philosophical questions humans face when developing advanced technologies or artificial intelligences. What responsibilities do creators bear toward their creations? Should artificial beings possess rights equivalent to naturally evolved species? How do societies integrate individuals whose existence challenges traditional definitions of natural life? Research into artificial Pokémon creation continues despite ethical concerns, driven by curiosity, ambition, and potential applications. Some scientists hope to resurrect extinct species using preserved genetic material, restoring biodiversity lost to ancient catastrophes. Others pursue medical applications, engineering Pokémon with abilities to heal diseases or produce beneficial substances. Military and commercial interests also drive research, seeking powerful or useful artificial species for specific purposes. These varied motivations ensure artificial Pokémon creation remains an active field despite risks and controversies surrounding it. As we drift a little deeper into this topic, the phenomenon of mega evolution introduces mysteries of its own. This temporary transformation allows certain Pokémon to achieve states beyond their normal final evolutions, gaining increased power and sometimes drastically altered forms. The process requires specific items called Megastones and deep bonds between trainer and Pokémon. Yet the origins of Megastones and the mechanism by which Mega Evolution occurs remain poorly understood. Ancient texts mention transformations resembling Mega Evolution, suggesting the phenomenon existed long before modern trainers rediscovered it. Megastones are crystallized forms of evolutionary energy found in specific locations, usually sites associated with intense historical events or natural power concentrations. Each stone corresponds to one Pokémon species, and why certain species received stones while others did not remains unexplained. Some researchers theorize Mega Evolution represents potential evolutionary paths that species began but never completed, with Megastones containing genetic information for these abandoned branches. Others suggest Mega Evolution exists as emergency response mechanism, allowing Pokémon to access temporary power during extreme circumstances at cost of stability or sustainability. The physical and psychological toll of Mega Evolution troubles trainers and researchers alike. Pokémon experiencing Mega Evolution undergo rapid physiological changes, muscle mass increasing, new appendages forming, energy output multiplying within seconds. These transformations cause pain or discomfort that varies by species and individual, with some Pokémon embracing Mega Evolution eagerly while others resist or fear it. The temporary nature of Mega Evolution suggests biology cannot sustain the enhanced state indefinitely, with Pokémon reverting to normal forms after battles or when energy depletes. What would happen if a Pokémon remained Mega Evolved for extended periods remains unknown, though theories range from exhaustion to permanent alteration or even death. Psychological changes accompanying Mega Evolution add another layer of concern. Some Mega Evolved Pokémon demonstrate increased aggression, reduced responsiveness to trainer commands, or altered personalities that fade only after reverting to normal forms. These changes suggest Mega Evolution affects consciousness as well as biology, possibly overwhelming individual identity with primal drives or instinctive behaviors. Trainers must maintain strong bonds with their Pokémon to guide them through Mega Evolution, preventing loss of control or harm to themselves and others. Without sufficient trust and communication, Mega Evolution risks becoming dangerous rather than advantageous. Legends surrounding Mega Evolution speak of ancient warriors who pushed their Pokémon beyond safe limits, achieving power at cost of destroying their partners' minds or bodies. These cautionary tales emphasize that Mega Evolution represents more than simple power increase. It embodies partnership, sacrifice, and mutual trust between trainer and Pokémon. Modern trainers discovering Mega Evolution must learn from past mistakes, using the transformation responsibly and respecting their Pokémon's limits. The potential for abuse exists whenever power is involved, making education and ethical guidelines essential for preventing tragedies. Another quiet detail appears when we look closer at regional variants and their implications. Pokémon species found in multiple regions sometimes develop distinct forms adapted to local environments. These regional variants exhibit different types, abilities, appearances, and behaviors from their counterparts elsewhere. The process by which these variants emerge operates on timescales that seem impossibly short for natural evolution. Standard evolutionary theory requires millions of years for significant changes, yet regional variants demonstrate drastic differences despite species presumably spreading to new regions within historical memory. Several explanations attempt to account for rapid variant development. Some researchers propose that Pokémon possess exceptional evolutionary plasticity, genetic structures allowing faster adaptation than organisms on Earth. Environmental pressures that would require thousands of generations for other species might produce significant changes in Pokémon within dozens of generations. This plasticity could explain why Pokémon demonstrate such incredible diversity, with thousands of species occupying every conceivable niche, despite the relatively young age of the world, according to geological evidence. Alternative theories suggest regional variants are not recent developments, but represent ancient subspecies that existed long before modern documentation. When continents separated or climate changes isolated populations, these subspecies developed independently for millions of years before reunification through human activity exposed their differences. This would mean regional variants are not adaptations to current environments, but survivors of ancient divergences, their distinct forms reflecting evolutionary paths taken in isolation from each other. If true, this implies Pokémon biodiversity is far older and more complex than currently understood. Cultural explanations propose that local beliefs, traditions, or energies influence Pokémon development in ways science struggles to quantify. Regions with strong spiritual traditions might produce Pokémon variants reflecting those spiritual qualities, with local energies shaping evolutionary outcomes as much as environmental pressures. This perspective aligns with indigenous knowledge systems, describing deep connections between land, spirit, and living beings. While difficult to test through conventional methods, the correlation between regional variant characteristics and local cultural values suggests factors beyond simple environmental adaptation may contribute to their development. The existence of regional variants raises questions about Pokémon taxonomy and species definitions. If two populations of the same species develop such different characteristics that they can not interbreed or produce viable offspring, do they remain one species or become separate ones? Where does adaptation end and speciation begin? These questions plague biologists attempting to classify Pokémon diversity systematically. The answer matters not just for academic understanding, but for conservation efforts, as protecting species requires clear definitions of what constitutes a species versus a subspecies or variant. As we drift a little deeper into this topic, the mystery of Ultra Beasts emerges as perhaps the most alien enigma within Pokémon studies. These beings originate from dimensions separate from the Pokémon world, arriving through rifts called ultra wormholes that open unpredictably. Ultra Beasts demonstrate characteristics so divergent from native Pokémon that classifying them as Pokémon at all remains controversial. Their biology operates on principles that violate conventional understanding, bodies composed of substances that behave inconsistently with normal matter, energy signatures that fluctuate without apparent cause. The discovery of ultra wormholes challenged fundamental assumptions about reality and dimensionality. If separate dimensions exist parallel to the Pokémon world, each potentially harboring its own ecosystems and life forms, then the diversity of possible beings exceeds anything previously imagined. Each Ultra Beast species appears adapted to its native dimension's physical laws, which may differ drastically from those governing the Pokémon world. This means Ultra Beasts arriving through wormholes enter environments fundamentally alien to their biology, explaining their often aggressive or confused behavior upon arrival. Ancient texts contain references that some scholars interpret as describing Ultra Beasts or similar interdimensional beings. Stories of creatures that appeared during storms or celestial events, beings that defied description and vanished as mysteriously as they arrived. If these accounts represent genuine encounters with ultra beasts, it suggests wormholes have opened throughout history, perhaps more frequently in the distant past. What caused increased wormhole activity in ancient times, or whether modern instances represent resurgence of a recurring phenomenon, remains unknown. The relationship between ultra beasts and legendary Pokémon reveals intriguing parallels and contrasts. Both categories exist at the periphery of normal Pokémon classification, beings whose power and nature set them apart from ordinary species. Yet, while legendary Pokémon seem intrinsically connected to the Pokémon world, potentially created by or creating aspects of it, Ultra Beasts remain fundamentally foreign. Their presence feels invasive rather than native, visitors or refugees from realities with no natural place in local ecosystems. Whether Ultra Beasts could eventually adapt to permanent residence in the Pokémon world, or if they remain forever misplaced, remains to be seen. Research into Ultra Wormholes and Ultra Beasts proceeds cautiously due to dangers involved. Wormholes open without warning, creating destabilizing effects in surrounding areas. Space distorts, time flows inconsistently, gravity fluctuates, and electromagnetic fields surge unpredictably. Humans and Pokémon caught near opening wormholes risk being pulled through to unknown dimensions, lost beyond reach of rescue. These risks make systematic study difficult, forcing researchers to rely on observations made during brief, uncontrolled encounters rather than planned experiments. Another quiet detail appears when we look closer at the relationship between Pokémon and human language. While Pokémon cannot speak human languages naturally, they demonstrate understanding of commands, emotions, and sometimes complex concepts. Communication between trainers and their Pokémon transcends simple command-response patterns, involving mutual understanding built through shared experiences and emotional bonds. Some Pokémon species show greater linguistic comprehension than others, with psychic types often demonstrating nearly human-level understanding despite inability to form words. Certain rare Pokémon possess ability to speak human languages fluently, either naturally or through learning. These individuals become subjects of intense study, as their existence proves Pokémon can develop linguistic capabilities given proper circumstances or biological traits. Researchers studying these exceptional cases seek to understand whether language capacity in Pokémon results from sufficient intelligence combined with appropriate vocal apparatus, or if something more fundamental separates species capable of speech from those that are not. The rarity of speaking Pokémon suggests significant barriers exist, whether anatomical, neurological, or evolutionary. Ancient legends describe eras when all Pokémon could speak with humans freely, communication flowing naturally between species without need for training or special abilities. These stories claim a great calamity or divine punishment ended this age of understanding, leaving most Pokémon unable to form words, though comprehension remained. Whether these legends represent historical truth, metaphorical explanations for communication challenges, or simple mythology varies by interpretation. Some researchers take them seriously, searching for evidence of ancient biological or supernatural events that could have altered Pokémon vocal capabilities globally. The emotional dimension of human Pokémon communication often proves more significant than linguistic content. Trainers develop intuitive understanding of their partner's moods, needs, and intentions through observation, empathy, and time spent together. This nonverbal communication allows coordination in battles, navigation of dangerous terrain, and provision of comfort during stress or injury. Pokémon similarly learn to read human body language, tone, and emotional states, responding to subtle cues their trainers might not consciously express. This mutual attunement creates bonds that transcend language, proving communication encompasses far more than words. Research into Pokémon communication explores biological mechanisms underlying their vocalizations and potential meanings. Each species produces characteristic sounds, cries that vary in pitch, rhythm, and complexity. These vocalizations serve multiple functions: establishing territory, attracting mates, warning of danger, expressing emotion. Sophisticated analysis reveals patterns within species-specific cries, suggesting they may constitute proto-languages with consistent meanings attached to specific sounds. If true, this would mean Pokémon possess linguistic systems separate from but parallel to human languages, communication networks operating through channels humans can perceive but not easily decode. As we drift a little deeper into this topic, the mystery of shiny Pokémon introduces another layer of enigma. These rare individuals exhibit coloration dramatically different from their species norm, appearing in variants that occur roughly once per several thousand encounters. The genetic mechanism producing shiny variants remains incompletely understood, though researchers know specific genes responsible for pigmentation differ between shiny and normal individuals. What remains mysterious is why these variants occur at all, what evolutionary purpose they serve, and whether their rarity indicates detrimental mutation or neutral variation. Some theories suggest shiny coloration originally served specific purposes in ancestral populations. Perhaps bright colors warned predators of toxicity, attracted mates with keen color vision, or provided camouflage in environments no longer present. As environments changed and populations adapted, these color variants became rare, persisting only as occasional genetic throwbacks to earlier forms. This would explain why shiny Pokémon appear healthy and viable despite their unusual appearance. Their genes represent stable alternatives rather than harmful mutations. Cultural significance of shiny Pokémon varies across regions and time periods. Some societies view them as sacred or blessed, believing they carry favor of legendary Pokémon or natural spirits. Others consider them unlucky, associating unusual coloration with curses or misfortune. These conflicting interpretations reflect human tendency to assign meaning to rare phenomena, whether scientifically justified or not. Modern trainers typically prize shiny Pokémon for their rarity and aesthetic appeal, collecting them as prized partners without attributing supernatural significance to their appearance. The experience of encountering a shiny Pokémon often becomes memorable for trainers due to their unexpected nature. Unlike planned breeding or specific hunting, most shiny discoveries occur through chance during regular exploration or training. The moment of recognition, seeing familiar species in unfamiliar colors, creates lasting impression, combining surprise, excitement, and appreciation for witnessing something rare. These encounters remind trainers that the Pokémon world retains capacity for wonder and unpredictability despite years of documentation and study. Breeding programs attempting to increase shiny occurrence rates achieve limited success. While certain techniques improve odds slightly, shiny Pokémon remain fundamentally rare regardless of method. This persistent rarity suggests genetic mechanisms preventing shiny variants from becoming common, possibly because widespread unusual coloration would eliminate advantages normal coloration provides. Nature maintains balance between variation and stability, allowing occasional deviations while preserving traits that benefit species survival. Shiny Pokémon exist at this boundary, rare enough to remain special, yet common enough to persist through generations. Another quiet detail appears when we look closer at the mystery of Pokémon eggs and reproduction. Most Pokémon reproduce by laying eggs, Yet eggs appear seemingly instantaneously at daycare centers or breeding facilities without anyone observing the laying process. Pokémon discovered together at daycare simply have eggs appear near them, as if the eggs materialized rather than being laid through normal biological processes. This oddity has spawned countless theories and jokes within the Pokémon community, but the genuine mystery remains. What exactly happens during Pokémon reproduction that results in eggs appearing so mysteriously? Some researchers propose that Pokémon eggs exist in temporary dimensional pockets during the early development, manifesting physically only when reaching certain developmental stages. This would explain their sudden appearance without visible laying and why eggs seem to arrive in protected locations rather than being vulnerable during initial formation. If Pokémon possess ability to shield their offspring dimensionally during critical early development, it would represent remarkable evolutionary adaptation for protecting vulnerable young from predators. The structure and properties of Pokémon eggs themselves present mysteries. Eggs maintain precise temperatures internally regardless of external conditions, suggesting biological heating mechanisms far more sophisticated than those found in bird or reptile eggs. They also demonstrate remarkable durability, surviving falls and impacts that would destroy ordinary eggs without even cracking. Some eggs even emit light or energy, particularly those containing species associated with fire, electricity, or psychic abilities. These properties hint at eggs functioning as more than simple protective shells, possibly serving as energy incubators or developmental catalysts essential for proper growth. Incubation times vary dramatically between species, with some eggs hatching within days, while others require weeks or months. Factors influencing incubation duration remain poorly understood, with species size, type, and evolutionary stage showing inconsistent correlations with hatching time. Some researchers believe incubation periods reflect developmental complexity, with species possessing advanced abilities requiring longer formation times. Others theorize that eggs remain in stasis until environmental conditions become optimal, extending incubation adaptively rather than following fixed schedules. The moment of hatching typically occurs without warning, with eggs showing no external signs of readiness before suddenly cracking and releasing their occupants. Pokémon emerge already mobile and responsive, unlike many Earth animals that require periods of helplessness after birth. This precocial development suggests Pokémon complete significant maturation within eggs, emerging ready to feed, move, and defend themselves immediately. Such advanced development within eggs requires enormous energy and resources, explaining why parent Pokémon invest considerable effort into ensuring eggs receive proper care until hatching. As we drift a little deeper into this topic, the mystery of Pokémon size variations deserves attention. While species have documented average sizes, individual Pokémon vary significantly in height and weight even within the same evolutionary line and growth conditions. Some individuals grow notably larger or smaller than species norms without clear explanation. These variations cannot be attributed solely to diet, exercise, or genetics, suggesting unknown factors influence final size. Environmental conditions, exposure to specific energies, or even psychological factors might play roles in determining how large individual Pokémon grow. Exceptionally large or small Pokémon often demonstrate characteristics beyond simple size differences. Massive individuals may possess greater strength or stamina, while unusually small ones show enhanced speed or agility. These correlations suggest size variations represent adaptive specializations rather than random developmental outcomes. In wild populations, Size diversity might allow species to exploit different ecological niches, with large individuals dominating in direct competition, while smaller ones succeed through evasion and efficiency. Cultural traditions in some regions celebrate Pokémon of exceptional size, holding festivals or competitions honoring the largest specimens of various species. These events transform size from simple biological fact into source of pride and accomplishment for trainers. The effort required to raise particularly large Pokémon often involves specialized diets, training regimens, and care routines passed down through generations of expert breeders. This accumulated knowledge treats size cultivation as art form, blending science, intuition, and dedication into practices that consistently produce remarkable results. The opposite extreme, unusually small Pokémon, generates equal fascination, though less formal recognition. Trainers who partner with notably small individuals often report that their Pokémon demonstrate surprising determination and fighting spirit, as if compensating for size disadvantage through force of will. These partnerships create compelling narratives of underdogs overcoming expectations, resonating with humans who admire perseverance against odds. Whether small Pokémon truly possess enhanced determination, or if trainers project this quality onto them, remains debatable, but the relationships formed around these partnerships demonstrate genuine depth and mutual respect. Research into size variation explores whether external manipulation can influence growth predictably. Experiments with controlled diets, environmental conditions, and exposure to specific items or energies produce inconsistent results. Some individuals respond dramatically to interventions while others show minimal change despite identical treatment. This variability frustrates researchers seeking universal principles governing Pokémon growth, suggesting development involves complex interactions between numerous factors, many of which remain unidentified or unmeasurable by current methods. Another quiet detail appears when we look closer at the mystery of held items and their effects on Pokémon. Certain objects, when carried by Pokémon, grant enhanced abilities, change move effectiveness, or even alter evolutionary outcomes. The mechanism by which physical objects influence biological capabilities remains unexplained. A simple bracelet or stone shouldn't enable Pokémon to perform better in battles or evolve differently, yet these effects occur consistently and measurably. Researchers theorize that items serve as focal points for energies Pokémon naturally produce or absorb, amplifying or directing these forces in beneficial ways. Some held items are natural formations, stones, shells, or plant materials found in specific locations and prized for their effects. These natural items often originate from areas with unusual energy concentrations, volcanic regions, deep caves, ancient forests, suggesting environmental energies become crystallized or absorbed into materials over time. Pokémon carrying these items may benefit from proximity to condensed forms of energies that normally disperse too diffusely to provide measurable advantages. Artificial held items, created by humans through various crafting processes, present their own mysteries. How do manufactured objects gain properties that influence Pokémon abilities? Some artificial items incorporate natural components, combining materials from multiple sources to achieve desired effects. Others appear entirely synthetic, yet still function reliably. The knowledge required to create effective held items combines chemistry, energy manipulation, and an understanding of Pokémon biology in ways that suggest deep historical development. Ancient civilizations created held items, meaning knowledge of their principles existed long before modern science emerged. Certain held items affect evolution specifically, enabling Pokémon to achieve forms impossible through normal development. These evolution-inducing items often require Pokémon to meet specific conditions, in addition to holding the item, being traded to another trainer while holding it, leveling up in particular locations, or achieving certain levels of happiness. These complex requirements suggest evolution represents more than simple biological maturation, incorporating social, emotional, and environmental factors into developmental triggers. Why evolution would depend on such varied conditions remains mysterious, hinting at depths to Pokémon biology that science has barely begun to explore. The rarity of certain held items creates markets and subcultures dedicated to locating, trading, and utilizing them. Some items appear only in dangerous locations, requiring skilled trainers to retrieve them safely. Others are produced through processes known only to specialized craftspeople who guard their techniques carefully. This scarcity ensures held items retain value and significance, preventing them from becoming trivial accessories. The effort required to obtain powerful held items mirrors the dedication needed to raise strong Pokémon, both demanding patience, knowledge, and perseverance. As we drift a little deeper into this topic, the phenomenon of Pokémon contests and performances reveals mysteries of its own. Contests judge Pokémon not on battle ability, but on beauty, coolness, cuteness, cleverness, and toughness, categories reflecting aesthetic and behavioral qualities rather than combat prowess. The fact that Pokémon can be trained and evaluated according to these subjective criteria raises questions about their psychology and self-awareness. Do Pokémon understand concepts like beauty or coolness? Do they take pride in performances or simply respond to trainer commands without comprehending the meaning behind their actions? Observing Pokémon during contests suggests many species do engage emotionally with performances. They show excitement when crowds respond positively, disappointment when performances go poorly, and apparent satisfaction when achieving desired effects. These emotional responses imply some level of understanding regarding performance contexts and audience reactions. Whether this understanding reaches depth of genuine aesthetic appreciation or remains surface-level association between the actions and rewards continues to puzzle behavioral researchers studying contest participants. The development of contest-specific moves and abilities demonstrates intentional cultivation of performance skills distinct from battle training. Pokémon learn to create dazzling visual effects, produce harmonious sounds, or demonstrate precise control over their abilities in ways that prioritize spectacle over combat utility. These specialized skills require different training approaches than battle preparation, emphasizing timing, presentation, and creativity. Trainers who excel at contests develop expertise in choreography, costume design, and in understanding how judges evaluate performances, treating contests as art forms requiring dedication comparable to competitive battling. Cultural variations and contest traditions reflect regional values and aesthetics. Some regions emphasize elegance and grace, judging Pokémon on fluid movements and refined presentations. Others value energy and excitement, rewarding dynamic performances that generate strong crowd reactions. These different philosophies create diverse contest scenes where Pokémon with various natural talents can find recognition. The existence of multiple contest categories ensures that different Pokémon types and temperaments can succeed, preventing any single style or species from dominating. The relationship between contests and battles reveals interesting parallels. Both activities require strong bonds between trainers and Pokémon, mutual understanding developed through time and shared experiences. Both demand training, practice, and strategic thinking. Yet contests require additional dimensions, awareness of audience, commitment to artistic vision, willingness to be vulnerable and expressive rather than purely competitive. Trainers who participate in both activities often find skills transfer between them, battle experience informing performance choices, while contest training enhances battle creativity and showmanship. Another quiet detail appears when we look closer at mysterious locations within the Pokémon world. Certain areas develop reputations for strange phenomena that defy easy explanation. Forests where compasses spin uselessly, pointing in random directions rather than north. Mountains where echoes return different words than those shouted, as if sounds transform during reflection. Lakes where reflections show scenes from different times or seasons, creating uncanny mismatches between reality and what water surfaces display. These locations become locally famous, attracting curious visitors while deterring those who prefer predictable environments. Some mysterious locations appear to affect Pokémon behavior in specific ways. Certain clearings cause normally aggressive species to become docile, gathering peacefully despite natural territorial instincts. Other areas induce unusual energy levels, with Pokémon becoming hyperactive or lethargic without apparent cause. These behavioral changes fade quickly after leaving affected areas, suggesting environmental factors rather than lasting conditions influence Pokémon. What properties these locations possess that trigger such responses remains unknown, though theories range from magnetic anomalies to residual energies from ancient events. Archaeological investigations of mysterious locations sometimes uncover ruins or artifacts beneath the surface, suggesting present oddities may connect to past human or Pokémon activities. Buried structures designed for unknown purposes, stone formations aligned with astronomical events, or deposits of unusual minerals that might interact with biological systems in unexpected ways. These discoveries provide context for mysteries without necessarily solving them, as understanding what ancient peoples did differs from understanding why locations remain unusual millennia later. Local communities living near mysterious locations develop traditions and practices around them. Some places become pilgrimage sites visited by those seeking spiritual experiences or hoping to witness phenomena firsthand. Others are avoided or approached only with protective rituals meant to ward off perceived dangers. These cultural responses to mystery demonstrate human need to relate meaningfully to the inexplicable, creating frameworks that allow coexistence with phenomena that resist scientific explanation. Whether folk practices actually provide protection or simply comfort matters less than their function in helping communities navigate uncertain environments. Scientific expeditions to mysterious locations employ sophisticated monitoring equipment, hoping to detect anomalies that might explain observed phenomena. Measurements of electromagnetic fields, gravitational variations, seismic activity, and atmospheric composition sometimes reveal subtle deviations from normal values. However, these findings rarely provide complete explanations, offering data points that describe conditions without illuminating causes. The gap between documentation and understanding frustrates researchers who find themselves able to confirm that something unusual occurs without determining why. As we drift a little deeper into this topic, the mystery of Pokémon dreams and sleep patterns invites exploration. Pokémon clearly sleep, exhibiting rest behaviors that parallel those of other animals. Yet what they experience during sleep remains largely unknown. Do Pokémon dream? And if so, what do they dream about? Some species demonstrate behaviors during sleep, suggesting dream activity, twitching as if running, vocalizing softly, or exhibiting signs of distress that fade upon waking. These indicators imply dreams exist for at least some Pokémon, raising questions about dream content and purpose. Psychic-type Pokémon present unique cases for sleep research due to their ability to influence or enter dreams of others. Studies involving psychic types suggest these Pokémon do experience dreams and can distinguish between their own dreams and those of others. Some psychic types reportedly enjoy experiencing dreams, seeking sleeping humans or Pokémon to observe or participate in dream scenarios. Whether this represents curiosity, entertainment seeking, or some other motivation varies by individual, but it confirms that at least some Pokémon possess awareness of dreams as distinct from waking consciousness. The physiological purpose of sleep in Pokémon presents interesting questions. Like other animals, Pokémon seem to require sleep for physical recovery and cognitive processing. Sleep-deprived Pokémon show decreased performance, impaired decision-making, and an increased irritability, symptoms consistent with what humans experience without adequate rest. However, some Pokémon species demonstrate unusual sleep patterns or requirements. Certain species sleep for only minutes per day, while others spend majority of their time sleeping. These variations suggest sleep serves different functions or possesses different importance across species. Dream-related abilities in specific Pokémon species add another dimension to sleep mysteries. Some species can induce sleep in others, using moves or abilities that cause targets to fall unconscious immediately. The mechanism by which these abilities work remains unclear, whether they trigger neurological processes, emit substances that affect brain chemistry, or use psychic influence to override consciousness. Additionally, Pokémon that consume dreams present disturbing implications about dreams as somehow tangible energy or substance that can be absorbed and utilized. If dreams possess material properties, it reframes the understanding of consciousness and mental activity fundamentally. Cultural beliefs about Pokémon dreams vary widely, with some traditions holding that dreams serve as communication channels between Pokémon and spirits or legendary beings. According to these beliefs, significant dreams carry messages or warnings that should be attended to carefully. Trainers in these cultures pay attention to their Pokémon's sleep behaviors, interpreting unusual movements or vocalizations as potentially meaningful. While lacking scientific validation, these practices demonstrate ways humans attempt to understand and connect with their Pokémon beyond waking interactions. Another quiet detail appears when we look closer at the mystery of move learning and memory. Pokémon can learn techniques through multiple methods: leveling up, technical machines, tutoring from experienced Pokémon or humans, and breeding past moves from parents. Each method raises questions about how moves are stored and recalled. Are moves simply instinctive behaviors that emerge naturally as Pokémon mature, or do they represent learned skills requiring practice and understanding? The fact that moves can be forgotten and relearned suggests they're not purely genetic, yet the consistency with which specific species learn particular moves implies genetic predisposition. Technical machines, devices that teach moves to Pokémon instantly, present particularly puzzling phenomenon. How does inserting disc or similar media into a device allow Pokémon to immediately master complex techniques? The process suggests moves can be encoded as information that Pokémon brains or nervous systems can interpret and implement. This implies remarkable neural plasticity and processing capabilities, allowing Pokémon to integrate new movement patterns, energy manipulations, or tactical knowledge seamlessly. Whether this represents accelerated learning or something more akin to programming remains debated. Move tutors, individuals who teach specific moves through training rather than technical machines, demonstrate that moves can be communicated through traditional instruction. This confirms moves aren't purely genetic or instinctive, but contain learnable components, transmissible through teaching relationships. The most skilled move tutors possess deep understanding of Pokémon biology, psychology, and capabilities, allowing them to guide Pokémon through learning processes efficiently. Their expertise suggests move learning involves not just physical technique, but also mental frameworks for understanding how to execute techniques effectively. The limitation on how many moves Pokémon can remember simultaneously creates interesting constraints. Typically, Pokémon can actively retain only 4 moves at once, though they can relearn forgotten moves by visiting specialized facilities. This limitation suggests moves require significant neural resources to maintain an accessible memory, with Pokémon brains only capable of keeping limited repertoire immediately available. Why evolution would impose such specific limitation remains mysterious, though theories propose it prevents cognitive overload or ensures Pokémon focus on mastering techniques thoroughly rather than accumulating superficial knowledge of many moves. Breeding past moves, techniques that parents can teach offspring before hatching, raise questions about knowledge transfer during egg development. How do parents impart specific moves to unhatched young? Do they somehow encode move information genetically, or does some form of pre-birth communication occur? The fact that both parents can pass different moves suggests sophisticated mechanisms for integrating knowledge from multiple sources. This form of inheritance blurs lines between genetic and learned information, implying Pokémon reproduction involves knowledge transfer beyond simple DNA transmission. As we drift a little deeper into this topic, the mystery of weather affecting Pokémon and their environmental impact deserves examination. Certain species possess innate abilities to alter weather conditions within their vicinity, creating rain, sunshine, sandstorms, or hail that persists while they remain active. The mechanism enabling individual organisms to generate and sustain weather effects operating over large areas defies meteorological principles. Weather systems typically involve massive air masses, temperature gradients, and pressure differences spanning hundreds of miles. How Pokémon achieve similar effects through biological processes alone remains unexplained. The energy requirements for weather manipulation would seem astronomical, yet Pokémon sustain these effects without apparent strain or resource depletion. Some researchers propose Pokémon with weather abilities don't create weather from nothing, but rather act as catalysts or controllers for existing atmospheric conditions. By manipulating local air pressure, temperature, or humidity precisely, they trigger natural weather formation processes that would occur anyway given proper conditions. This would explain how relatively small creatures produce effects typically requiring vast energy inputs. They're not generating weather, but guiding its development through strategic interventions. Wild populations of weather-affecting Pokémon create localized climate zones that can persist for extended periods. Areas where these Pokémon congregate develop microclimates distinct from surrounding regions, experiencing different precipitation levels, temperatures, or seasonal patterns. These microclimates allow plants and other Pokémon adapted to specific conditions to survive in regions where they otherwise couldn't exist. In effect, weather-affecting Pokémon become ecosystem engineers, shaping their environments to suit their needs and incidentally benefiting or harming other species through their influence. The interaction between multiple weather-affecting Pokémon produces complex and sometimes unpredictable results. When Pokémon generating different weather types come into proximity, their abilities compete or combine in ways that create unusual atmospheric conditions. Rainbows forming in the absence of rain, lightning without clouds, temperature fluctuations that swing rapidly between extremes. These interactions demonstrate that weather abilities don't simply override existing conditions, but interact dynamically with atmospheric systems and other weather effects, creating layered complexity that makes prediction difficult. Historical records describe periods when weather-affecting Pokémon supposedly caused regional climate disasters through unchecked activity. Droughts lasting years when fire-type populations grew too large, floods from excessive rain-inducing species, or frozen landscapes when ice types dominated. Whether these accounts represent actual events or exaggerations meant to emphasize importance of ecological balance remains uncertain. Modern ecology recognizes that population dynamics of weather-affecting species could theoretically destabilize regional climates if predator-prey relationships or other regulating factors broke down. This possibility motivates conservation efforts aimed at maintaining balanced ecosystems where weather-affecting species exist. Another quiet detail appears when we look closer at the mystery of type immunities and resistances. Pokémon types interact in complex patterns, with certain types being immune, resistant, or vulnerable to others. These interactions seem arbitrary at surface level, but contain internal logic when examined closely. Ground types being immune to electric attacks makes intuitive sense given electricity grounds harmlessly through Earth. Ghost types being immune to normal attacks fits if ghosts exist partially outside physical reality. Yet other interactions resist easy explanation, requiring deeper understanding of what types fundamentally represent. Some researchers propose types are not merely categorical labels, but represent distinct forms of energy or essence that Pokémon embody. From this perspective, type interactions reflect how different energies interact at fundamental levels. Fire consumes grass because heat releases energy stored in plant matter. Water extinguishes fire by absorbing heat and preventing combustion. Steel resists psychic attacks because metal doesn't possess consciousness to be manipulated mentally. These explanations work for many interactions, but struggle with others, suggesting type relationships involve multiple principles operating simultaneously. The existence of dual-type Pokémon complicates type interaction theory further. These Pokémon combine properties of two types, often in ways that create unique vulnerability or resistance profiles. How biological organisms integrate two distinct energy essences into coherent functioning remains mysterious. Do dual-type Pokémon possess separate systems for each type, or do their types merge into something qualitatively different from either component? The mechanics of dual typing suggest Pokémon biology operates according to principles that allow integration of fundamentally different energies without conflict or instability. Type changes through evolution or temporary transformations demonstrate that type is not fixed, but can shift under specific circumstances. Pokémon evolving into different types suggests their fundamental nature transforms during development, with the energy essences they embody changing as they mature. This flexibility indicates types represent states of being rather than immutable characteristics, with Pokémon capable of transitioning between states through growth, environmental influence, or deliberate effort. The malleability of type challenges attempts to define types too rigidly, revealing them as more fluid and contextual than simple categorical systems suggest. Moves that change types based on user or environmental conditions add another layer of complexity. Attacks that adopt the type of plates or items held by users, or moves that shift types depending on weather or terrain, demonstrate that type exists as property that can be influenced and modified dynamically. This suggests type permeates not just organisms, but also energy, space, and perhaps reality itself at some fundamental level. Understanding types fully would require grasping principles underlying all interactions within the Pokémon world, a task that may exceed current scientific frameworks. As we drift a little deeper into this topic, The phenomenon of Pokémon appearing in photographs or recordings differently than how they appear in person creates unsettling mysteries. Some Pokémon species demonstrate properties that interfere with visual documentation. Cameras capturing blurred images despite perfect focus, videos showing static or distortions when certain Pokémon appear, or photographs developing with unexpected features like extra appendages or altered expressions. These anomalies occur consistently with specific species, suggesting inherent properties rather than equipment failure. Ghost types frequently exhibit photographic anomalies, appearing as orbs, mists, or indistinct shapes even when clearly visible to human eyes during photography. This behavior aligns with their nature as beings existing partially outside normal physical space. If ghost types phase between dimensions or exist simultaneously in multiple states, recording equipment designed to capture three-dimensional, visible light reality might capture only fragments of their full existence. The images produced reflect limitations of recording technology rather than depicting ghost types incompletely. Psychic types occasionally demonstrate awareness of being photographed, reacting to cameras before shutters click or seemingly posing despite no apparent communication from photographers. Some researchers theorize psychic types perceive intentions or futures, detecting moments when photographs will be taken and responding preemptively. More concerning are reports of psychic types influencing photographs mentally, causing cameras to capture images that don't match what photographers saw through viewfinders. If psychic types can manipulate perceptions or memories, photographic evidence of their appearance becomes unreliable, raising questions about whether documented images show reality or psychically influenced versions. Certain legendary Pokémon resist documentation entirely, with cameras failing to function in their presence or producing completely black images despite adequate lighting. These beings might emit energy that interfere with electronic devices or possess properties that prevent light from reflecting normally. The inability to photograph legendary Pokémon contributes to their mystique and makes verification of sightings difficult. Claims of legendary encounters rely on testimony rather than physical evidence, allowing skeptics to dismiss reports while believers maintain faith in witnesses' honesty. The few clear photographs of mysterious or rare Pokémon often become controversial, with experts debating authenticity and amateur investigators attempting to verify claims. In the age of digital manipulation, distinguishing genuine documentation from fabrications requires careful analysis of image properties, contextual details, and corroborating evidence. Some famous Pokémon photographs remain subjects of debate decades after capture, with neither confirmation nor debunking achieving consensus. These uncertain images occupy liminal space between evidence and folklore, tantalizing suggestions of mysteries not quite proven or disproven. Another quiet detail appears when we look closer at the mystery of Pokémon intelligence and consciousness. Pokémon demonstrate problem-solving abilities, emotional complexity, and sometimes strategic thinking rivaling or exceeding human capabilities. Yet their inability to speak human languages and differences in behavior create assumptions that they're less conscious or sophisticated than humans. This assumption deserves examination, as evidence suggests. Pokémon possess rich inner lives and cognitive abilities that standard intelligence metrics fail to capture adequately. Psychic types provide clearest evidence of sophisticated consciousness through telepathic communication. When psychic types convey thoughts directly to humans, the content often demonstrates abstract reasoning, emotional nuance, and self-awareness comparable to human cognition. These communications reveal that inability to form words does not indicate inability to think complexly. Psychic types think in concepts, images, and feelings that translate imperfectly into language, suggesting their consciousness operates through modalities different from, but not inferior to, human verbal thought. Pokemon's social structures display complexity, indicating advanced social cognition. Species that live in groups develop hierarchies, cooperative hunting or gathering strategies, and cultural practices pass through generations. Young Pokemon learn from elders not just through instinct, but through observation and instruction, demonstrating capacity for cultural transmission of knowledge. Some communities of wild Pokemon have been documented using tools, creating shelters, or engaging in activities that seem playful or artistic rather than strictly survival-oriented. These behaviors indicate motivations beyond basic biological needs, suggesting appreciation for beauty, curiosity about their world, or desires for social bonding. The emotional lives of Pokemon provide perhaps the most compelling evidence of consciousness deserving moral consideration. Pokemon grieve when companions die, celebrate victories, comfort each other during distress, and form attachments that persist across years and distances. Trainers who abandon Pokemon often find their former partners waiting at familiar locations, hoping for reunion despite time passed. These emotional depths indicate Pokemon experience their lives subjectively, with preferences, memories, hopes, and fears that matter to them as individuals. Recognizing this reality transforms ethical considerations around Pokemon treatment from questions of property rights to issues of consent and welfare. Philosophical debates about Pokemon consciousness center on questions about personhood and rights. If Pokemon possess consciousness comparable to humans, do they deserve similar ethical status? Should capturing wild Pokemon be considered acceptable, given that it removes them from natural habitats and places them under human control? Do Pokemon truly consent to battling, or do they participate because they're conditioned or lack alternatives? These questions lack easy answers, residing in gray areas where different ethical frameworks produce conflicting conclusions. Most societies in the Pokemon world have developed cultural norms treating Pokemon as partners rather than property, attempting to balance human interests with respect for Pokemon autonomy and well-being. As we drift a little deeper into this topic, the mystery of Pokemon centers and healing technology demands attention. Pokemon centers exist in virtually every town and city, providing free instant healing services through devices that restore injured or exhausted Pokemon to perfect health within seconds. The technology enabling this miraculous healing remains a proprietary and poorly understood outside medical circles. Pokemon inserted into healing machines emerge completely recovered regardless of injury severity, with wounds closed, energy restored, and even status conditions cured. How machines accomplish healing that would require days or weeks naturally defies medical understanding. Several theories attempt to explain Pokemon Center technology. Some propose machines use concentrated healing energies similar to those employed by Pokemon with restorative abilities. By channeling these energies through technological means, machines replicate natural healing processes at accelerated rates. This would explain why healing works on all Pokemon types, despite their biological diversity, if healing energy represents universal force that interfaces with life, regardless of specific physiology. Alternative theories suggest machines employ temporal manipulation, reversing Pokemon physical states to conditions existing before injuries occurred rather than healing damage conventionally. The universality of Pokemon Center technology across regions suggests shared scientific foundations or coordinated development at some point in history. Despite political and cultural differences between regions, Pokemon centers operate identically worldwide, using compatible equipment and protocols. This standardization implies either ancient common origin for healing technology or modern international cooperation, ensuring consistent healthcare access for Pokémon globally. Historical records provide limited insight into when Pokémon centers first appeared or how healing technology developed, leaving origins obscure. Ethical questions arise regarding why healing technology works only on Pokémon and not humans. If machines can cure any Pokémon injury or illness instantly, why can't similar technology benefit humans suffering from diseases or injuries? Some researchers theorize that Pokémon biology interfaces uniquely with healing energies in ways human physiology does not. Others suggest technical or ethical barriers prevent adapting Pokémon healing technology for human use. The disparity creates uncomfortable situations where Pokémon receive superior medical care to humans, though most accept this as simply how things are, without questioning underlying reasons. The economic implications of free universal Pokémon healthcare remain curious. Pokémon centers receive funding through some combination of government support, charitable organizations, and Pokémon League sponsorship, ensuring services remain available regardless of trainer wealth or status. This system prevents economic barriers from limiting Pokémon welfare while creating sustainability questions about how centers maintain operations without charging fees. The commitment to free Pokémon healthcare reflects cultural values, placing high importance on Pokémon well-being, treating their care as public good rather than commercial service. Another quiet detail appears when we look closer at mysteries surrounding move accuracy and critical hits. Battles involve probability elements, where moves sometimes miss despite users' best efforts or land critical hits that cause dramatically increased damage. The randomness inherent in these mechanics raises questions about what factors determine outcomes beyond simple skill or power differences. Is accuracy influenced by environmental conditions, psychological states, or quantum uncertainties that make some degree of unpredictability inevitable? Do critical hits represent luck, or do they reflect moments when attackers achieve perfect execution through unconscious optimization? Some battle theorists propose accuracy reflects attacker focus and defender evasion in ways too subtle to predict deterministically. Even skilled Pokémon cannot maintain perfect concentration continuously, with lapses causing attacks to miss targets narrowly. Similarly, defenders instinctively adjust positions moment to moment, creating situations where attacks aimed precisely still fail to connect due to unpredictable movements. From this perspective, accuracy represents emergent property of complex interactions between intent, execution, and reaction, rather than simple probability calculation. Critical hits might reflect optimal strike placement, moments when attacks land on vulnerable points that amplify damage beyond normal levels. Rather than random occurrences, critical hits could represent instances when attackers unconsciously exploit openings in defenders' guard or strike areas where defenses are thinnest. This would explain why moves with higher critical hit ratios exist. Certain techniques naturally target vulnerable areas more consistently than others. However, explaining critical hit frequency through optimization alone struggles to account for the precise mathematical ratios observed, suggesting either remarkable consistency in biological systems or underlying probabilistic principles governing outcomes. The psychological impact of accuracy and critical hits on battle outcomes extends beyond immediate damage values. Trainers and Pokémon both respond emotionally to fortunate or unfortunate events during battles, with luck swings affecting morale and decision-making. A crucial miss at critical moment can demoralize participants, while unlikely critical hit can energize them, creating cascading effects beyond initial mechanical consequences. Experienced trainers learn to maintain composure through these variance swings, recognizing that probabilities even out over many battles even if individual matches feel influenced heavily by luck. Philosophical debates question whether true randomness exists in battle mechanics, or if apparent randomness reflects incomplete information about determining factors. If observers possessed complete knowledge of all physical and mental variables influencing battle moments, could they predict outcomes perfectly? Or does genuine quantum indeterminacy ensure some degree of unpredictability persists regardless of information completeness? These questions connect to broader physics debates about determinism versus randomness, with Pokémon battles serving as concrete examples where philosophical positions generate different expectations about what future technologies might achieve in terms of outcome prediction or control. As we drift a little deeper into this topic, the mystery of Pokémon understanding human emotions deserves exploration. Pokémon demonstrate remarkable sensitivity to their trainers' emotional states, responding appropriately to joy, sadness, fear, or anger even when humans attempt concealing feelings. This emotional attunement suggests Pokémon possess sophisticated empathy or perceive emotions through channels beyond facial expressions and body language. Some species might sense hormonal changes, subtle shifts in scent that accompany emotional states, or even electromagnetic variations in human biofields. Others could employ psychic sensitivity, detecting thoughts and feelings directly. The development of emotional bonds between trainers and Pokémon follows patterns suggesting mutual emotional growth rather than simple conditioning. New trainers and newly caught Pokémon often struggle with communication and coordination initially, but time spent together develops intuitive understanding that transcends verbal commands. Partners learn each other's personalities, preferences, and tendencies, creating partnerships where both parties adapt to accommodate the other. This reciprocal adjustment indicates Pokémon don't simply obey, but actively participate in relationship building, making choices about how to interact with their human partners. Pokémon who experience abuse or neglect demonstrate emotional trauma similar to humans in comparable situations. They become withdrawn, aggressive, or despondent, requiring patience and compassion to heal psychological wounds. The existence of rehabilitation centers dedicated to helping traumatized Pokémon recover indicates society recognizes their emotional needs as legitimate and worthy of dedicated resources. Success stories of Pokémon learning to trust again after betrayal provide powerful examples of resilience and capacity for forgiveness, demonstrating that emotional damage, while serious, need not be permanent. Research into Pokémon emotions explores physiological markers that correlate with different emotional states. Changes in body temperature, hormone levels, brainwave patterns, and energy emissions accompany various emotions, providing objective measurements of subjective experiences. These studies confirm that Pokémon emotions involve similar biological systems to human emotions, supporting evolutionary theories suggesting emotional experiences emerged early in development of complex nervous systems. The universality of basic emotions across species indicates their fundamental importance for social coordination, threat assessment, and motivation, regardless of specific cognitive architectures. Cultural variations in how trainers relate to their Pokémon's emotions reflect different philosophical traditions about human Pokémon relationships. Some cultures emphasize emotional restraint, viewing excessive attachment as potentially compromising to judgment in serious situations. Others celebrate emotional bonds openly, treating love and friendship between trainers and Pokémon as highest ideals worth cultivating deliberately. These different approaches produce different training philosophies, but generally achieve comparable results, suggesting multiple paths exist toward healthy partnerships as long as basic respect and care remain present. Another quiet detail appears when we look closer at the mystery of natures and characteristics. Individual Pokémon demonstrate consistent personality traits called natures that influence their growth patterns and behavioral tendencies. These natures affect which statistics develop more readily during training, making some Pokémon naturally suited for physical attacks, while others excel at special attacks or defensive roles. What determines a Pokémon's nature remains unclear, whether genetic, environmental, or influenced by subtle factors during egg development. The fact that natures remain stable throughout a Pokémon's life suggests they're fundamental aspects of identity rather than malleable traits. Characteristics provide additional personality indicators, subtle quirks unique to each individual. Some Pokémon are described as proud, while others are naive, docile, or rash. These characteristics don't directly affect statistics, but influence how Pokémon behave in various contexts. Proud Pokémon might refuse to execute strategies they consider beneath their dignity, while naive ones trust too readily and sometimes fall for obvious tricks. Trainers who understand their Pokémon's characteristics can work with natural inclinations rather than against them, developing strategies that suit personalities rather than forcing incompatible approaches. The diversity of possible natures and characteristics creates remarkable individuality among Pokémon of the same species. Even siblings from the same egg batch demonstrate distinct personalities that make them feel like unique individuals rather than interchangeable members of a species category. This individuality complicates generalizations about how specific species behave, as individual variation often proves as significant as species-typical traits. Trainers learn to appreciate their Pokémon as individuals, recognizing that each partnership involves unique dynamics requiring customized approaches. Some trainers seek specific natures for competitive advantages, breeding numerous Pokémon, hoping to obtain individuals with optimal nature statistic combinations. This practice raises ethical concerns about what happens to Pokémon with suboptimal natures, whether they receive care and attention or get released or neglected in favor of more competitively viable individuals. Responsible breeders ensure all Pokémon born through their efforts find appropriate homes regardless of natures, recognizing that every individual deserves consideration even if they don't meet competitive criteria. The tension between competitive optimization and ethical treatment of living beings creates ongoing debates within training communities. Philosophical questions emerge regarding whether natures represent true aspects of Pokémon's selves or projections of human interpretation onto behavioral patterns. Do Pokémon experience themselves as having specific personalities, or do humans construct personality narratives based on observed behaviors? If natures genuinely reflect internal experiences, it implies Pokémon possess stable self-concepts and subjective identities that persist across time and circumstances. This would support arguments for recognizing Pokémon as persons deserving moral status comparable to humans, beings whose preferences and well-being matter independently of their utility to human interests. As we drift a little deeper into this topic, the mystery of abandoned structures scattered throughout regions reveals another layer of enigma. Derelict mansions, forgotten lighthouses, collapsed mines, and overgrown research facilities dot landscapes, carrying stories that end abruptly without resolution. These locations attract ghost-type Pokémon and curious explorers equally, both drawn by atmospheres heavy with unanswered questions. Investigating abandoned sites often uncovers personal belongings, research notes, or equipment left behind, as if occupants departed suddenly without time to collect possessions. What circumstances forced such hasty abandonments remains recorded inconsistently, if at all. Some abandoned structures contain journals or logs documenting activities before abandonment. These documents describe routine operations, minor setbacks, everyday concerns, then abruptly stop mid-entry or shift to panicked final messages. Reading these accounts creates unsettling impression that disasters struck without warning, overwhelming inhabitants before they could properly document what happened. Whether these disasters were natural, accidental, or something more mysterious can only be inferred from fragmentary evidence and local legends that formed in absence of official explanations. Certain abandoned locations demonstrate unusual properties that suggest why they were forsaken. Rooms where temperatures fluctuate wildly without apparent cause, hallways where sounds echo wrong, creating disorienting acoustic effects, or basements where compasses spin uselessly. These environmental anomalies might have developed gradually, becoming intolerable over time, or manifested suddenly as consequences of experiments or events that occurred there. Either way, the properties persist long after human abandonment, creating spaces that feel fundamentally wrong to enter despite lacking obvious dangers. Wild Pokémon inhabiting abandoned structures often include species rarely found elsewhere, particularly ghost and dark types drawn to places humans avoided. These Pokémon adapt to environments with minimal resources, feeding on ambient energies or small prey that venture into ruins. Their presence transforms abandoned sites into unofficial sanctuaries where species that struggle in human-dominated landscapes find refuge. Some conservation efforts focus on protecting these informal habitats, recognizing their value for biodiversity even though they arose accidentally rather than through deliberate preservation planning. Urban explorers and paranormal investigators frequent abandoned locations, hoping to document phenomena or experience supernatural encounters. Their reports describe shadow movements without sources, voices speaking from empty rooms, objects moving independently, and feelings of being watched by unseen presences. While these accounts often get dismissed as products of suggestion or overactive imagination, their consistency across multiple witnesses and locations suggests patterns that deserve serious attention. Whether phenomena result from ghost-type Pokémon, residual energies from past events, or psychological responses to unsettling environments remains debated. Another quiet detail appears when we look closer at the mystery of environmental terrains and their battlefield effects. Certain moves create temporary environmental conditions that persist for several turns, affecting all Pokémon engaged in battles. Electric terrain prevents sleep, grassy terrain heals grounded Pokémon gradually, misty terrain protects against status conditions, psychic terrain blocks priority moves. These field effects operate through mechanisms that remain scientifically mysterious. How do Pokémon generate area-wide environmental changes that affect allies and opponents equally, and why do these changes fade after set durations rather than persisting indefinitely? Some researchers theorize terrains represent localized alterations to fundamental forces governing the battlefield area. By manipulating these forces temporarily, terrain-creating Pokémon establish conditions favoring their type or strategy. The temporary nature might reflect limits on how long a Pokémon can maintain necessary concentration or energy output to sustain alterations. Alternatively, natural systems might possess inherent resistance to artificial manipulation, gradually reasserting normal conditions once active maintenance ceases. Either explanation requires accepting that individual Pokémon can influence environmental fundamentals through abilities that transcend normal biological capabilities. Interactions between different terrains create interesting tactical considerations. When Pokémon attempt to establish terrains while another terrain already exists, the newer effect replaces the previous one entirely, rather than blending or conflicting. This replacement suggests terrains operate as discrete states that environments can occupy rather than stackable modifications. Battles become partially about controlling which terrain dominates, with both sides attempting to maintain conditions favorable to their strategies. This terrain control element adds strategic depth beyond simple type advantages, rewarding trainers who understand synergies between specific terrains and their team compositions. The effects terrains exert on wild Pokémon behavior remain largely unstudied. In controlled battle contexts, terrains function predictably, but their impact on natural ecosystems when wild Pokémon generate them remains unclear. Do wild Pokémon deliberately create terrains to gain advantages when defending territory or hunting prey? Do certain species establish semi-permanent terrain conditions in their habitats, creating localized zones where specific environmental properties persist? If so, these terrain zones might function as ecosystem features that other species adapt to or avoid, adding complexity to habitat selection and species distributions. Cultural traditions in some regions involve deliberately creating and maintaining specific terrains for ceremonial or agricultural purposes. Communities working with terrain-capable Pokémon establish beneficial conditions for crop growth, protection against pests, or spiritual practices believed to invoke favor from natural forces. These traditional practices treat terrains as tools for shaping environments deliberately, recognizing their utility beyond battle contexts. Modern applications explore similar ideas, using terrain effects for practical purposes like improving agricultural yields or creating therapeutic environments for healing traumatized Pokémon. As we drift a little deeper into this topic, the mystery of move pools and why certain Pokémon learn specific moves demands examination. The combinations of moves available to each species follow patterns that sometimes make intuitive sense and other times seem arbitrary. Why can some Pokémon learn Ice-type moves despite being Fire types primarily? Why do certain species learn moves associated with completely unrelated concepts or elements? These questions probe how move learning relates to Pokémon biology, evolution, and perhaps deeper principles governing their existence. Egg moves, techniques that Pokémon can only learn if parents pass them during breeding, hint at knowledge transfer mechanisms operating beyond conventional genetics. Parents somehow impart information about specific moves to offspring before hatching, allowing young Pokémon to know techniques they couldn't learn through normal development. This knowledge transfer might involve genetic encoding, but it could also reflect consciousness-to-consciousness communication during egg formation, with parent Pokémon mentally instructing unborn young in techniques they'll need. The latter possibility suggests Pokémon consciousness might exist in rudimentary forms even before hatching, capable of receiving and storing information for later use. Some moves appear in move pools of multiple unrelated species, suggesting these techniques represent fundamental expressions of energy or force that various Pokémon discover independently. Tackle, for instance, is learned by almost every Pokémon capable of physical movement, as it represents simple application of momentum and mass against targets. Other broadly accessible moves like Protect or Rest embody universal survival strategies that any sufficiently intelligent species would develop. These universal moves contrast with species-specific signature moves that only single evolutionary lines can learn, techniques that seem intrinsically tied to specific biological structures or energy patterns unique to those species. The inability of certain Pokémon to learn moves that seem thematically appropriate puzzles trainers and researchers. Why can't all water types learn Surf when riding on water-type partners seems natural for species living in aquatic environments? Why do some dragon types lack access to dragon-type moves that seem perfectly suited to their biology and combat style? These gaps in move pools sometimes reflect game balance considerations in competitive contexts, but they also raise questions about what limits move of learning in universe. Perhaps certain moves require specific anatomical structures, energy production capabilities, or cognitive frameworks that not all thematically similar species possess. Forgotten moves and move relearning systems create puzzling questions about memory and skill retention. Pokémon who forget moves can relearn them later through specialized services, implying the knowledge never truly vanishes but becomes inaccessible temporarily. This suggests Pokémon memory for techniques operates differently from simple skill practice, possibly storing move knowledge in ways analogous to computer files that can be loaded or unloaded as needed. The mechanisms allowing this selective memory manipulation remain mysterious, though psychic-type Pokémon might facilitate the process through mental interventions that restore access to dormant knowledge. Another quiet detail appears when we look closer at mysterious items and their origins. The Pokémon world contains numerous items whose properties defy easy explanation. Mysterious shards that restore Pokémon health when held, stones that prevent evolution when touched, scarves that boost specific move types despite being simple fabric. These items function reliably and measurably, yet how they achieve their effects remains poorly understood. Some items are clearly artificial products of advanced technology, but others appear natural formations that happen to possess useful properties. Evolution stones represent perhaps the most enigmatic item category. These minerals trigger evolutions in specific Pokémon species when exposed to them, yet the stones themselves show no obvious unusual properties beyond faint energy emissions. Chemical analysis reveals compositions similar to mundane minerals with slight trace element differences that seem insufficient to explain dramatic evolutionary effects. Some researchers theorize evolution stones accumulate and focus ambient evolutionary energies present throughout environments, serving as catalysts rather than energy sources themselves. When Pokémon already near evolutionary thresholds contact concentrated evolutionary potential in stones, they complete transformations that would otherwise require additional time or specific conditions. The geographic distribution of evolution stones follows curious patterns. Certain stones appear exclusively in specific regions or locations associated with particular environmental features. Fire stones concentrate near volcanoes, water stones in coastal caves, leaf stones in ancient forests. This distribution suggests environmental conditions influence gene formation, perhaps requiring specific combinations of minerals, temperature, pressure, and ambient energies present only in characteristic locations. The rarity of some stone types might reflect how infrequently necessary formation conditions occur naturally. Held items that boost specific stats or move types operate through mechanisms that challenge understanding. Why does holding charcoal increase fire-type move power? How do berries heal status conditions when eaten? What properties in silk scarves amplify normal-type attacks? If these effects result from physical properties of items themselves, it implies matter can possess subtle influences on biological systems that conventional science hasn't identified. Alternatively, items might serve as psychological or spiritual focuses that help Pokémon channel their own energies more effectively, with belief or intention amplifying natural capabilities rather than items adding external power. Some items carry histories, suggesting they're artifacts from ancient civilizations rather than natural formations or modern manufactures. Fragments of tablets, worn medallions, tarnished bells, items that demonstrate wear patterns, indicating age measured in centuries, yet remain functional. These artifacts sometimes bear symbols or inscriptions in languages no longer spoken, connecting them to lost cultures whose technological or spiritual sophistication exceeded modern understanding. Studying these items provides glimpses into how ancient peoples interacted with Pokémon and manipulated forces that contemporary science struggles to acknowledge even exist. As we drift a little deeper into this topic, the phenomenon of synchronized movements among wild Pokémon herds or flocks reveals mysteries of coordination and communication. Groups of Pokémon sometimes demonstrate precise, simultaneous behaviors, wheeling through sky in perfect formations, changing directions instantaneously without apparent signals, or coordinating attacks on predators with timing that suggests telepathic communication. These coordinated behaviors exceed what simple response to visual cues or calls would allow, implying additional communication channels humans cannot easily detect or understand. Research into group coordination explores whether Pokémon use infrasound, ultrasonic vocalizations, electromagnetic signals, or pheromones to maintain cohesion and transmit information rapidly. Evidence exists for each mechanism in different species, suggesting multiple solutions to coordination challenges evolved independently. Psychic types might establish temporary mental networks, allowing direct thought sharing among group members. Flying types could use subtle wing position changes and air pressure variations to signal intentions. Aquatic species might employ electrical pulses or pressure waves traveling quickly through water. The diversity of coordination mechanisms reflects how different evolutionary paths solved similar problems using available biological tools. The adaptive advantages of coordinated group behavior are obvious: predator avoidance, efficient resource exploitation, communal defense. Yet the precision demonstrated by some species exceeds what strict utility would require, suggesting coordination becomes culturally valued in itself. Pokémon might take pride in executing complex, synchronized maneuvers, enjoying the social bonding and aesthetic pleasure such activities provide. This would indicate that Pokémon motivations extend beyond survival and reproduction to include social and aesthetic dimensions that enrich their experiences beyond mere biological necessity. Certain species demonstrate coordinated behaviors that seem ritualistic rather than practical. Circular dances performed at specific times of year, rhythmic vocalizations produced in harmony by multiple individuals, or sequential displays, where each member contributes to patterns that emerge only when viewing the whole group. These ritualistic behaviors might serve social functions like establishing group identity, reinforcing hierarchies, or facilitating mate selection. Alternatively, they could represent genuine cultural traditions passed through generations, behavioral heritage that continues because communities value maintaining connections to their pasts. Human observers witnessing highly coordinated wild Pokémon behaviors often report feelings of awe or reverence, sensing they're watching something sacred or profound. These emotional responses suggest coordinated displays impact observers at levels deeper than simple visual appreciation. Perhaps humans possess instinctive responses to witnessing successful cooperation, recognizing at unconscious levels the skill and trust required for groups to move as unified wholes. Or perhaps coordinated displays tap into aesthetic sensibilities that appreciate pattern, harmony, and precision regardless of their practical purposes. Another quiet detail appears when we look closer at the mystery of Pokémon longevity and aging. Different species demonstrate vastly different lifespans, with some living only years, while others persist for decades or potentially centuries. What determines these lifespan differences remains incompletely understood, with size, metabolism, and evolutionary history showing inconsistent correlations with longevity. Some small Pokémon live longer than much larger species, while others with similar biology age at dramatically different rates. These variations suggest multiple factors influence aging, with no single principle predicting lifespan across all species. Legendary Pokémon present extreme examples of longevity, with some individuals documented existing for centuries or millennia without apparent aging. Whether these beings are truly immortal or simply age so slowly that their lifespans exceed human observation capabilities remains unknown. If legendary Pokémon are immortal, it raises questions about biological mechanisms allowing indefinite cellular repair and regeneration. Alternatively, legendary Pokémon might exist partially outside normal time, experiencing temporal flow differently than mortal beings in ways that make aging irrelevant or incomprehensible from conventional perspectives. The aging process in Pokémon follows patterns different from many Earth organisms. Pokémon typically maintain full physical capabilities until near the end of their lifespans, with decline occurring rapidly rather than gradually over extended periods. This compression of senescence means elderly Pokémon remain active and capable far longer proportionally than elderly humans, then pass relatively quickly when biological systems finally fail. This pattern might reflect evolutionary adaptations, ensuring wild Pokémon don't become vulnerable burdens on their groups or easy prey while still contributing to community function until their deaths. Some trainers report their Pokémon partners living significantly longer than wild members of the same species, suggesting that care, nutrition, and protection from environmental stresses extend lifespan. The bond between trainer and Pokémon might also contribute to longevity through psychological benefits, reduced stress, purpose, and emotional fulfillment, promoting better health. These factors combine to make captive Pokémon potentially longer lived than their wild relatives, though measuring this effect reliably proves difficult given the long lifespans involved and relatively recent emergence of systematic trainer culture. End-of-life care for elderly Pokémon creates emotional challenges for trainers who have partnered with individuals for decades. Deciding when to allow natural death versus using medical interventions to extend life raises ethical questions without clear answers. Trainers must balance their desire to preserve relationships against recognition that extending life artificially might cause suffering without meaningful benefit. These difficult decisions force confrontation with mortality and attachment. Teaching trainers that love sometimes means accepting loss rather than fighting futilely against natural endings. As we drift a little deeper into this topic, the mystery of weather patterns responding to emotional states of powerful Pokémon demands attention. Reports describe storms forming when legendary Pokémon become angry, droughts following periods when fire-type populations experience unusual stress, or unseasonable cold snaps coinciding with ice-type migrations. These correlations between Pokémon emotional states and weather suggest connections that transcend simple cause and effect, implying deeper integration between living beings and environmental systems than modern frameworks acknowledge. If emotions can influence weather, it requires accepting that consciousness possesses tangible effects on physical reality beyond simple behavioral expressions. Intense emotions might generate energy emissions or field disturbances that propagate outward, interacting with atmospheric systems in ways that amplify or guide their development. This would make consciousness itself a force capable of shaping material conditions, blurring boundaries between mental and physical that conventional science treats as firmly distinct. Indigenous knowledge systems have long described such connections, treating emotions, thoughts, and physical environments as continuous rather than categorically separate. The scale required for emotional influence on weather raises questions about how individual Pokémon, or even populations, could affect systems involving massive energy exchanges. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed drifting through these quiet moments, there's another video waiting on the left of your screen. Let it play while you rest. You might discover something gentle before sleep takes you again.